Full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are in the classroom with Ernest Krim. And just before I bring Ernest, as well as our very special guest, Mr. Diallo Brooks, to the forefront of our program in our first segment, in our first hour, I want to lay the foundation for the period that we're living in. In 2004, the year is 2004, today's graduating class from colleges and universities around our country are celebrating their commencement in 2026. In 2008, the graduating class of high schools, the baccalaureate, if you will, or the diploma classes of high schools across our country were born, and that too is a significant year, setting the stage, if you will, for their birth, but also a period filled with hope and great expectations for our nation. In 2012, the 8th grade graduating classes across our nation, from Maine all the way to Los Angeles, California, and to everyone within the reach of my voice, they too were graduating in, or born in 2012, and they too are graduating in 2026. And I'm wondering, and I'm thinking in this moment, what do we tell the graduating class that came into the world, both in 2004, 2008, and 2012, with great expectations for the world that they would be moving into, the world that their parents would be leaving them, what are we going to tell them at their commencement addresses this year? On the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show today, two of our regular contributors, Ernest Krim III and Diallo Brooks, join Mr. Krim in his classroom to discuss the expectations and the reality and the adjustments that these students have to make in the world in which they are moving into and the world in which they are about to enter and live. Ernest Krim III is an Emmy-nominated producer, a public teacher, an anti-racist educator, and a hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim is a South Side of Chicago native and a University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana graduate, a former high school history teacher of 12 years who now also advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media with a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month. Ernest, welcome forward to Ernest Krim's classroom on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, what's up, brother? It's good to be back here with you.
Brother, I'm always honored to spend my Mondays with you. And Brother Diallo Brooks is joining us with over 25 years experience in social justice and civil rights. Diallo has been a pivotal figure in promoting policies that foster safe, healthy, and thriving communities. He currently serves as the founder and CEO of Civic Vision Strategies, a strategic consulting firm empowering organizations through transformative leadership, development, and community engagement strategies. Brother Brooks, welcome forward to Ernest Krim's classroom and the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here again.
Ernest, I'm doing a number of commencements this year, including one that begins on this coming Wednesday, or initially an elementary school, also a high school graduation, as well as a college graduation. And I'm thinking and reflecting upon the moment that they were born, the hope that was brought into the world, the expectations that we had about the future of our nation as we turn this corner into the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And I'm saying to myself, in 2004, these students who are graduating with their baccalaureate degrees from college, these students who are graduating, who were born in 2008 with their high school diplomas, and these students who are graduating in the 8th grade who were born in 2012, a new reality is setting in across our nation. And I'm wondering if the hopes and the expectations themselves are consistent with what their expectations were when they were born and for most of the lives that they have lived and the wake-up call that they are now entering into. Just before we begin our program, I'd like to go to a clip of a commencement address delivered by Congressman Bobby Scott. And I think we're going to have that clip when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. But I wanted to begin in the 2 minutes that we have left in this segment, just to give both of you some sense of the context and the difficulty for commencement speakers at this hour. Ernest?
Yeah, I definitely feel for you, brother. I think the main thing that I would focus on as we continue this conversation is to, of course, give our kids hope and let them know that the problems we see today aren't reflective of their ability to create a better future. And I think that we'll have to, of course, adapt that depending on if you're talking to elementary school kids, high school kids, and college kids, because depending on how old they are, they're probably more in tune to this current political landscape.
Brother Brooks?
Yeah, I ditto those sentiments, and I would say this too as well, that we have to make sure that with our young people that we let them know that we have their backs, that we're supporting them along this journey, that we're not just leaving the world to them and stepping aside, that we will support their growth and development and the push that they need to be both feet in as they're looking to change the world that we see.
These young people were born at what can only be described as the high moment of Second Reconstruction. Barack Obama had yet to be elected to the United States Senate. That occurred in 2006. He became president of the United States in 2008. The graduating class for the 8th graders in that schema were born in 2012. Hope, expectation, promise, possibility abounded. Today, we are looking at a shifting political and cultural landscape in the United States, and these young people have to understand what that shift is. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in Mr. Krim's classroom. When we come forward with Diallo Brooks, we will have more to discuss about what we can prepare our youth to hear and what they can expect. More on Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Deshauna Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Moving Mountain Mondays, and we're in Mr. Krim's classroom. Our very special guest, of course, is Diallo Brooks. Both of these gentlemen are educators and part of a generation that have committed themselves to educating our young people. Gentlemen, I'd like to start today with a clip. Congressman Bobby Scott's commencement address at Hampton University.
They didn't give up because there were obstacles, but we also see what happens when politicians with different priorities are elected and why we need to be eternally vigilant. The big ugly bill which passed last year included massive tax cuts to health care in order to give tax cuts to billionaires, and now millions of Americans are in the process of losing their insurance. That's why we need all of you to use your education and stay involved in the democratic process, especially when it's hard. Politics and decisions about the future should not be reserved only for the richest people in the world who will try to buy power and influence to hold others down. The power belongs to people like you. So as you prepare to address the obstacles in the future, Remember President Teddy Roosevelt's story about the man in the arena? He said that it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least fails by daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. So graduates, get up and stay up and get in the arena. Stay up with the news of the day. In fact, help make the news of the day. You have built a solid foundation, made worthwhile investment in your future by getting an education here at Hampton. I'm confident that you're going to make great things happen, not only for yourselves, but also for our community and our nation. We're counting on all of you as we look forward to the future. Thank you for all that you're going to do, and congratulations to the class of 2026.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. That's Congressman Robert Scott of the great state of Virginia. Congressman Scott would have been the beneficiary of a vote by the people of Virginia just a week ago to ensure that his congressional district would remain intact, largely because Democrats in Virginia were responding to the gerrymandering and the redistricting processes across the country. Congressman Bobby Scott recognizes that these young people that he was speaking to were born in 2004. There had yet to be an Affordable Care Act, but they too are the beneficiary of it. Certainly their parents are. There was no debate or discussion about ending the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program. We had yet to experience the coronavirus and the COVID, but we quickly became one nation, recognizing that whoever's hand we shook, whoever we hugged, whoever we stood too close together we ran the risk of catching a deadly pandemic, a deadly virus that could kill people without the proper vaccines and the proper care. And yet Congressman Bobby Scott, for the 2004 graduating class of Hampton University, compelled them to stay in the arena, for the fight that was in front of them. Ernest Krim.
I think what's very important to consider during this time, and first off, I want to applaud him for his remarks. I think they were very poignant and necessary. I think it's firstly unfortunate that commencement speakers have to reconsider a period in time that should be focused on joy and happiness to then address political issues in an indirect manner. Because we know, especially if you are talking at high schools, elementary schools, you're not able to be as explicit as you might want to be with the college graduation. But yet and still, we've seen, even with the case, I believe it was at the University of Michigan, with what your remarks are, could lead to a lot of blowback. I think what's very important to consider during this time is the different stages of growth and maturity during this time period for our kids. I'm someone who taught high school social science 12 years. I have 2 middle schoolers now, and I have an online class, primary for elementary kids, and those stages are drastically different. If I was speaking to college kids right now, I would want to reassure them in the same way I would want to reassure elementary or middle school graduates that I know you feel uncertain about what's next. I know it feels like you're about to be put out in the world with a vast amount of uncertainty, but I want you to remember that you have the ability to create the future. I think it's important to remind kids that commencement literally means beginning, which seems to counter what we are even here together for, right? When I spoke to a group of college graduates a couple of years ago, I was speaking to those who were graduating with history and philosophy degrees. And I kept harking back to this point of what you're seeing right now is preparation for what's to come. And as such, you need to use your degrees in an appropriate manner. Don't just resolve to fit in with the way things are. If you notice that something is wrong, resolve to be the change that you are pleading for. Resolve to disrupt those cycles. Resolve to contribute in a meaningful way. And as he said in his speech, this requires all of us to get involved. I dream of a day when we'll see voter participation as an educator in the A range, 90+%, right? And until we get to that point, that means to me that we have thousands and millions of people in our communities who are not, I wouldn't even say just not engaged, but aren't being met with the proper conversations they need to understand why they should be engaged in this moment.
Diallo, I want to hang around the college students who were born in 2004 and what their expectations should have been at this hour, but for the calamity that is our nation's politics. Don't worry, we will get to the high school students when we get to 2008, and we will get to the elementary school graduates when we get to 2012. Diallo, today's college students, what should they be listening to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I attended Howard University's graduation this past weekend, and this past week, my daughter is just graduated in the class of 2026, and had a lot of discussions about the future, what's next, what the world looks like going forward. I think that we have to contextualize this moment. One, we have to celebrate our young people because we already know that they've gone through tremendous accomplishments to reach this point. And so we have to make sure that we continue to celebrate them, uplift them, let them know that they have accomplished a lot. Despite what the world looks like, despite what the current state of affairs, there is always uncertainty upon graduation. Young people have been in school for all of their lives, right? All of their lives, they've been in an educational institution for the most part, those that are traditional students. And so there is uncertainty going into job markets, going out into the world, becoming really full-fledged adults. And so wrapping the support systems around them as they matriculate to their next steps. The thing that is really important for me when I talk to young people, college students, those that are graduating from college, is also acknowledging their ability to understand the moment. Oftentimes I hear folks that are more seasoned say that, hey, you all don't know anything about the world yet. But I think it's wrong for us to underestimate the knowledge that young people have because, Jesse, we've talked about this in the past. It is young people who have always changed the world. They have always been the leader of our movements. They've been always the spark to the change that we need to see because they have that energy. They have that breath and fresh perspective that's coming into the world. And that is valuable in moments like this, moments of discomfort, moments that seem daunting. That energy, that ability to step into the moment is incredibly important. And we have to nurture that. We have to support that. But like I said earlier, we have to let them know that we stand with them as this happened. They're not in this alone. While we haven't fixed the problems, we're a part of helping them identify the solutions that we all need in order to create a healthy, thriving, safe society for all of us. And, like I said, I was at Howard. There was protest they had the mayor of Washington, D.C. was the commencement speaker there. There's a tremendous amount of controversy about that role. It's a difficult role because D.C. is a federal city, not a part of a state. But the students many students had strong feelings about the mayor and whether she capitulated to the Trump administration around some of the policies, particularly as it relates to young people and ICE. But young people elevated their voice, and that's their right to do so. And I don't condemn them for doing that. I feel like that's part of the protest action is a part of what makes our society better. And I always say you have to listen to protest because behind behind every protest, there are messages that are incredibly important.
Diallo and Ernest, as you know, there has been an outright attack, an assault, if you will, on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The 2026 graduating class of Hampton University, Howard University, North Carolina A&T State University, the HBCUs, and college campuses around the country where African Americans are matriculating into graduate school, that fewer of them will be accepted in law school. Fewer of them will be accepted in medical school. Nursing is no longer a professional profession, according to this administration. And so the expectations that they have for becoming is fundamentally about to confront a reality of what the law allows and does not allow under the Trump administration and the court's interpretation of what constitutes that. We've had medical doctors on this program with PhDs who teach and work in some of the most prominent hospitals and health facilities in the country and the world. And as African American women and African American men, their credentials are still questioned as to whether or not they actually belong there. Some of them have been suggested that they did not even know that they were surgeons or doctors or cardiac therapeutic medicine professionals or brain surgeons. And so I'm wondering if, and I suspect we'll get to this in the next segment, if there will be commencement speakers who will miss the point of the politics and what's taking place when their high hopes and expectations of this hour confront the reality of hostile laws at the federal and state level, of hostile laws that will seek to damper, if you will, or to throw fire on their dreams. Diallo, and then Mr. Krim.
Well, I mean, there's obviously going to be folks that are going to miss the moment. We see that all the time. As I look at the world right now and look at what is necessary for young people going forward, is that this is not something that's new. There's always throughout our history challenges that emerge. And I also like to lean into the assets that despite the challenges we are capable of overcoming, there's gaps that we have overcome in the past, and there are challenges that we will overcome in the future. And it requires us, and Ernest mentioned earlier, our level of civic participation. This is areas of organizing and focus that we can lean into to make sure that all of our voices are heard, that we're at the table everywhere, that we participate in every way we possibly can, and that those are the things we can do, and leaning into the things we can do versus spending too much time leaning or elevating the problem, right? I mean, I think the problem has to be mentioned, but there also has to be solutions that folks can lean into that give us hope and a direction as we move toward the future.
I accept that. Ernest, we have a little less than a minute, and I know I'll come back with more of your answer when we come forward. Fewer of these graduates are going to be admitted to business school coming in the fall. Ernest?
I would just say, in this moment, before we go to break, that it's important for our students to find ways to recreate the community that they had in college that led to their success. Nothing that's worth achieving in any part of this country or world will be achieved unless we have a team. And they have to remember that they're not graduating by themselves. They're graduating with a community of people who are like-minded and ready for change.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in Mr. Krim's classroom. Our very special guest in this hour is Diallo Brooks. Both of these young men are educators. They are teachers. And we're talking about what we are telling our graduates upon graduation. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is getting criticism for backing out of a Fox LA mayoral forum. The mayor's announcement comes just days after having debated Spencer Pratt and City Councilwoman Nithya Raman, with some polls showing Pratt to be the winner.
And under my watch, it is the first time we've had a decrease in street homelessness.
Organizers say she had confirmed she would attend, but Bass says she'll be in Sacramento. A Louisiana Senate committee is still working to redraw the state's congressional map after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down one of its 2 majority black districts. Several proposals are being considered, including plans that could remove one or both majority black districts. And Washington, D.C.'s Black Mayor Muriel Bowser says she's approaching a graduation of her own as she prepares to leave office. Bowser spoke at HBCU, Howard University, and UDC's commencements, telling graduates she's entering a new chapter but has no plans to quit. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of things need to happen tonight for the Lakers to keep folks from bringing out their brooms at Crypto.com. LeBron has to regain his shooting touch, and the Lakers cannot afford to score only 49 points in the second half. That was the Lakers' second half total in their Game 3 loss to Oklahoma City on Saturday. As for LeBron, he missed 12 of 19 shots Saturday, including 4 of 6 on three-pointers. He also had no offensive rebounds in Game 3. The Lakers have no chance to extend this series if the 41-year-old LeBron doesn't play better. And one more thing. Prepare yourself for the possibility that this could be LeBron's last game in a Lakers uniform. LeBron is a free agent after the season. He's making $52 million at the moment. Can the Lakers afford to give him a raise with a new contract? Also, Luka Doncic is supposed to be the new face of the Lakers franchise. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580. 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
You have your vote by mail ballot. Now it's time to vote. Drop it off early at any official ballot drop box. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and we are in Mr. Krim's classroom. Our very special guest is none other than Diallo Brooks. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
I want to add this to the previous conversation, and then I want to quickly move to 2004. 2008, the high school graduating class. Starting in December of 2026, men in the United States will be automatically registered for the military draft, selective service, within 30 days of their 18th birthday, removing the need for individual self-registration. This change applies to nearly all male citizens and male immigrants age 18 to 25. Key details for 2026, the government will use existing databases to register men within 30 days of turning 18, beginning in December of 2026. Male U.S. citizens and most male immigrants, including green card holders, refugees, and undocumented, residing in the United States between 18 and 25. Until the new system takes effect, men must still ensure they are registered within 30 days of their 18th birthday. If not automatically registered, men can still register until their 26th birthday. Consequences or failure to register can lead to ineligibility for federal jobs, student loans, and U.S. citizenship for immigrants. The registration is for potential military conscription only and does not mean a draft is currently active. Now let's move to 2008. The year is filled with hope. The first African-American president of the United States, a cabinet that is more diverse than any cabinet we've seen. Our pride and is vested in the candidacy of Barack Obama, the highest number at that time of African Americans ever elected to the Congress of the United States and state legislatures around our country. Blacks are making progress not only in Hollywood, but they're also making progress in corporate America at every facet as a result of Brown versus the Board of Education, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 65, public accommodations. We walked into a brand new world in 2008. That's when the high school graduating class of 2026 entered the earth as newborn children to their parents. What do you tell high school students who are graduating at age 18 that they need, Brother Krim, to make sure and ensure that they have applied or registered for the selective services?
Yeah, I would honestly, I would do what you just did. I think it's important, just like Diallo said previously as well, to give them the context of when they enter this world. You know, and of course, like you said, when we give these speeches, we do have to tread lightly, especially depending on the age group we're speaking to. So now that we're talking about high school, we have to be a little more indirect, speaking metaphors.
Well, I think we have to tell them the truth, Ernest. 18-year-olds are grown people. They don't get to show up at lockouts or walkouts or show-ups in major cities and expect to be treated like they're children any longer. This administration, this man is serious about what his plans are for our future, locking us out of college, locking up, making it more difficult to go to graduate school, to go to law school, to go to business school, to become productive members of our society as taxpayers. And now mandatory conscription. Doesn't mean you're going to be drafted, but you better register. I don't think we need to tip around the 18-year-olds. They will lock them up. They're talking about putting a curfew on 18-year-olds who just show up at these meetups and greet-ups and walk through grocery stores and walk through big box stores, taking things out of stores at 18 years old. And many of the 18-year-olds who are graduating are not going to college. A number of us do go to college, but there is a significant drop-off from young people in that age group who decide to enter the workforce, which in and of itself is becoming more competitive. Ernest, I'm just at that point, and then I want Diallo to jump in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what I mean is really tell them what it is now. I mean, me forward-facing wants to explicitly name all the things and be very direct about what they need to do. But I think by giving them the facts of the world they entered into, and as you said, what awaits them in what this draft could be and what the economy is, even if you compare the economy they were born into and to the one they're graduating in, I think it paints a clear picture. I'm going to also make sure that they understand that they're 18, many of them by the time they graduate, and you need to make sure you're registered to vote. I think it's very interesting that we have a country that would automatically sign these kids up potentially to be drafted, but would not automatically have them registered to vote. Like that, the process is too long. If I'm 18, I'm old enough. I can get my license. I can do this. I should be able to vote. I also want these kids to understand that they have an opportunity to create a new future, not in the broad sense, but when you're in high school, you feel like you have to fit in. I want to give them permission to now stand out. I want them to be more intentional about what their circle is going to look like moving forward, whether they go to college or not. After you register to vote, who are you hanging around that's going to determine your future? And I want them to understand, too, that the historical figures that we often study. I was just in Maywood last week, and I did a video about our brother, Chairman Fred Hampton. We want to remember that Fred Hampton got started in high school. Fred Hampton was in the NAACP, increasing the amount of people in high school. He was leading free breakfast programs, waking up at 19, 20, and 21. So we don't have to wait until you get a diploma. The change that we need is going to be dependent upon your level of engagement moving forward. And that can happen whether you got this diploma or not. Overall, I want our kids to understand, regardless of their level, that it is truly them. They make that diploma, that degree, that transition, that commencement mean something more than them just symbolically getting it. They have to be intentional about their moves moving forward.
Diallo?
Yeah, I agree. And I live in Washington, D.C., where, as you're getting your driver's license, as you're updating your driver's license, you're registered to vote, as the selective service information is provided for you. So I'm a little less worried about them signing up for selective service. I think we need to put that information within, schools, and so they can be prepared on the front end. Also, we can't underestimate our young people. I've seen young people join protests and have walkout movements within their schools around the issues that they care about. So they're not necessarily immune to what's happening around them in the world. Now, some of them are at different stages of development, but they're having very critical conversations at much younger ages than sometimes as adults we think they are. They're very social in the way they're sharing information. And when things start to impact them, I know in DC that, our mayor has put out a curfew for students in certain areas of the city. Those young people actually know that, and they're standing up and they're pushing back against that. I think we just arm them with as much information as possible, age appropriate, in ways that they can digest, because we understand that young people at 18 are not as developed as a young person at 25, right? And so making sure they have the information. And as adults, we have to stand in the void. I hate to always, people always use this, African proverb, it takes a village. We have to be young people's villages. We have to stand in the gap. We also have to fly cover for young people when they are under attack, right? We have to be there. We cannot just project or propel young people into the world without the support of knowledgeable adults that listen to them and guide them. It's a two-way street. It's a balancing act, but I know our young people are built and ready for this moment We just have to do our part of leaning in and supporting that growth and development.
I believe that to be true. I can share this with you as someone who's 61 years old and has spoken at dozens over the last 40 years of high school and elementary school graduations. One of the most surprising things for me is when I get to a high school graduation and I can hardly get into the parking lot because of the number of limousines that have been rented for the occasion. Parents who spent tremendous amounts of money for the gowns and the dresses of the students, knowing that this is the high moment of their lives. For many of them to have graduated from high school is the very crowning achievement in their family and in their lives. They're not, many of them, with the expectations of going to college. Many are, but many are not. There is also the question of a value system that is necessary that also, I believe, needs to be communicated. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're with Mr. Krim and Diallo Brooks in Mr. Krim's classroom. We're coming to the eighth graders when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Tired of traffic? Metro D-Line runs Wilshire now with 3 new stops from downtown LA to Beverly Hills. No parking, no stress. Metro D-Line, the faster way across LA.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic. And when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't back down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Faye Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of the community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're Moving Mountain Monday, and we're in Mr. Krim's classroom. Our very special guest is Diallo Brooks. Diallo and Mr. Krim, welcome forward to Mr. Krim's show.
Thank you.
Let's move to the eighth graders now. Those who were born in 2012, the 14-year-old students who will be graduating shortly across our nation. I should share with you very quickly my own experience, and I want to leave sufficient time for both of your words of hope to round out the hour. I've been to eighth grade graduations again, where it is difficult to get into the parking lot because parents have rented limousines for their children. And lots of flowers, lots of balloons. In fact, during the graduation ceremonies, oftentimes, some of the most unruly people who are present are the parents. Students are under the tutelage of the principal and the faculty members who've already shared with these students they are not to be disruptive during the program, but the parents themselves become the great disruptors of the graduation ceremonies. Now, I say that because I've also met teachers who've shared with me in the eighth grade who have never met their students' parents in the 8 years that they were in elementary school. And now that parents don't have to pick up report cards, they can log into a portal to see what their child's progress is. I have met teachers who've suggested and shown me, verbally of course, that told me that they have parents who've never logged into their child's portal to see the progress that their student or their child was making or not making. And yet they will show up at graduation celebrating a tremendous achievement. Don't get me wrong. I know what it means to provide hope and to provide people with strength in broken places and to talk about the broken places and bringing the pieces together to inspire another generation. At the graduations I'll be speaking at, trust me, I'm going to do my best to leave them on a high note. But the reality is, some of these parents at this formative process are not in touch with what's going on in the world either. They're not voting. They're not participating. They're not sharing with their children that, as Martin Luther King Jr. would say, Brother Krim, there are still difficult days ahead.
I think more than anything, to echo your point, with this graduation, you're speaking to the community. You're speaking to the village, not just the kids. With the first two that we talked about for high school and college, these are kids who are mostly, some of them starting to embarking on a new journey of adulthood, maybe going to college, maybe getting their first apartment, and so on and so forth. At this age, we're speaking to the community, as we said before, the village that is raising that child and children. Having someone who, my oldest child was born in 2013, so I'm kind of on the cusp of that, the beginning of Gen Alpha, the end of Gen Z. What I'm seeing that is very important to make sure our kids understand is the importance of finding positive peer pressure and avoiding those peers who are leading them down the road that might be deleterious to their future. We want them to be clear on what their goal is and find pathways that lead directly to that. Kids in this age group have to have something that builds their confidence and affirms their identity. And I want our kids to truly understand that that age range, what that identity is, even beyond who they are racially, of course, depending on the demographic of the school you're speaking to. But what are your values? What are your morals? What do you want out of the world? And being very clear on who they intend to surround themselves with when they go to the next step. And then we have to have another whole conversation about what we tell our parents in a more broader sense. But I think that's the core of what I would say to the kids.
I appreciate that, Mr. Krim. Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think it's really important to understand that there is some within our community. There has been an intentionality of breaking our community, breaking our family structures, breaking down how folks show up and communicate. And so I don't really get into this whole parent accountability piece in the way that some people talk about parent accountability. I think it's important to understand that as we're dealing with young people, as we're giving messages to young people and the community around them, that we have to fill the gaps where there are gaps. When we have opportunities to help bridge those gaps, we have to do that. I think we have to lean in. We have to understand that, there's a lot of challenges that have been created in our society for families. And we have to do our best to understand that sometimes we can't fix all of those problems right in that moment. And it's to speak just life into young people and the communities around them as we speak to them, and then do the other work outside of that environment that's necessary to really bring folks together.
I appreciate both of you. I know that our hour draws near, and I don't think I have enough with this 1 minute for a solid word of hope from both of you. But let me just say this. I saw Michael. I took my mother to see Michael for Mother's Day. And there's a lot of talk about Joe Jackson. And if you've never been to 2300 Jackson Street, I knew Michael Jackson. I know members of the Jackson family and the Jackson Five. If you've never been to Gary, Indiana, and you've never had to understand where Michael came from, not where he was, not where he ended up, but where he had to come from. The role of parents in this process to keep your children in practice, to keep them off these streets, to keep them from falling into the wrong groups of people is a factor in the development of our children that is indeed inescapable. The movie Michael is a deep philosophical journey of an American family, an American African-American family, and the very, very difficult task of striking the balance between the struggles that we have in classrooms and what is necessary at home to keep our children focused and keep them alive in the context to which we find ourselves. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, we will be with Teresa Terry Ford Owens. Next week, we will have also graduates in these various categories who will share with us their stories and their expectations. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is getting criticism for backing out of a Fox LA mayoral forum. The mayor's announcement comes just days after having debated Spencer Pratt and City Councilwoman Nithya Raman, with some polls showing Pratt to be the winner.
And under my watch, it is the first time we've had a decrease in street homelessness.
Organizers say she had confirmed she would attend, but Bass says she'll be in Sacramento. A Louisiana Senate committee is still working to redraw the state's congressional map after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down one of its 2 majority black districts. Several proposals are being considered, including plans that could remove one or both majority black districts. And Washington, D.C.'s Black Mayor Muriel Bowser says she's approaching a graduation of her own as she prepares to leave office. Bowser spoke at HBCU Howard University and UDC's commencements, telling graduates she's entering a new chapter but has no plans to quit. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of things need to happen tonight for the Lakers to keep folks from bringing out their brooms at Crypto.com. LeBron has to regain his shooting touch, and the Lakers cannot afford to score only 49 points in the second half. That was the Lakers' second half total in their Game 3 loss to Oklahoma City on Saturday. As for LeBron, he missed 12 of 19 shots Saturday, including 4 of 6 on three-pointers. He also had no offensive rebounds in Game 3. The Lakers have no chance to extend this series if the 41-year-old LeBron doesn't play better. And one more thing. Prepare yourself for the possibility that this could be LeBron's last game in a Lakers uniform. LeBron is a free agent after the season. He's making $52 million at the moment. Can the Lakers afford to give him a raise with a new contract? Also, Luka Doncic is supposed to be the new face of the Lakers franchise. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show in the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Teresa Ford Owens. She's the General Minister and President of the Christian Church of Christ in the United States and Canada. You're listening to our program today on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, the 110. If you're on Ventura, the Fulvida, or in Gardenia, or the Hills. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Terry Hord Owens is an amazing person who earned her Master of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where she was a Disciples Divinity's House Scholar. and recipient of the John Gray Rind Award given to the top MDiv graduates at the Divinity School. Terry, welcome forward to the Faith Not to Fall and the Terry Hord Owens Show on the Jesse Jackson.
Hello, sir. It's always good to be with you.
Great. I hope you heard some of our last show. We went from the graduating class that was born in 2004. They're graduating and receiving their baccalaureate degrees across the country.
Mm-hmm.
To the high school classes born in 2008 who are graduating and receiving their high school diplomas. And the 8th grade graduates who are graduating at 14 years old, who were born in 2012, the year 2004, the year 2008, and the year 2012, promised at the end of Second Reconstruction a tremendous amount of hope and expectation. Barack Obama had been president of the United States. He had one more term to fulfill until 2016. The expectations about American possibility and the world that we were walking into so boldly and so bravely, paid for with sacrifice and the lives and blood of martyrs and our ancestors who brought us to this point. At the hour that these commencement addresses are being delivered to both 8th graders, high school students, and college students around the country, Reverend Owens, the world is fundamentally different than the expectations that these young people had when they were born in their formative years. Your thoughts about the difficulty of speaking to that with integrity at these commencements, given all that's at stake.
Oh, absolutely. And it is difficult is a good word. I'm always thinking about, what my own parents and grandparents had hoped for when I was entering kindergarten in 1965, right? And what the world would be like because of the Voting Rights Act. And I was elected to this current position in 2017, the year after Donald Trump was elected. And I remember my whole perspective shifting from what I thought the work might be like prior to the 2016 election and what I thought it would be like after. We are in just perilous times. The people who graduated from college, were much younger even during COVID. These kids were in elementary school. They've seen some difficult things, and they've lived now just in this last year watching, depending upon the demographic of their neighborhood and their school, watching people's parents being grabbed and disappeared and detained, and they're hearing about universities no longer being intentional about recruiting diverse populations or even speaking of programs that will reflect the composition of the communities in which they live. And it's, we keep hearing a lot of, chatter about, why young people aren't voting or why they're not engaged, or they're feeling like that's not a waste of time. I mean, they've lived through a lot that would diminish their own hope or their own appreciation for how well certain processes, will serve them. I'm hoping that those who are graduating, they've turned 18, they've registered to vote, and all that good stuff. I'm actually this coming Saturday the commencement speaker at Phillips Theological Seminary, one of our seminaries in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And, what do you say to people who are going into ministry, right? In this environment when there's so much complexity and so much just overt injustice, and the very rule of law that historically we thought we could count on is just being, wiped out from underneath us. So it's, I think of those parents, right? Like, what kind of hope do you give to your kids if they're not going to college? What kind of jobs will they have? They're in the Army. What's the chance of, going to war? There's just so much. And you don't want to take, my dad always used to say, I don't want to take your hope away. I don't want to take your hope away, but I do want you to have some realistic understanding about the world that you live in.
I think that's important. It's so important, it's so valuable, because just as we're having this conversation across the nation and around the world via the app at KBLA Talk 1580, just as sure as I'm sitting here, there are going to be hundreds, maybe thousands of commencement speakers around the country who will be speaking to the hope, but they will not be dealing with the reality of who these young people are and what they are going to be confronting, because at the hour of their birth in 2004, 2008, and 2012, juxtapose that against the backdrop of the 250th anniversary of the nation on July 4th, 2026, and we ask ourselves and reflect upon how we have made it over, how long it has taken us to get here, and where we are going. Commencement speakers at graduation ceremonies in 2026, these commencement addresses will be unlike any others that we have heard in a generation. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're listening to The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens. More on this exploration when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens. Reverend Owens earned her Master's of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago. She has been elected the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination and general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. She believes that the disciples' priority is an anti-racist church, being a movement of wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. Reverend Terry Hoard Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens, KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, good to be with you. Always good to be here.
Reverend, before we get to some of the resolutions that your church has advanced, I'd like to hang around this subject for just another moment. I'm skilled enough at 61 years old, as a speaker and as a preacher of sorts. I say of sorts, to be able to look out upon an audience and make adjustments to my remarks when I see us. I'm good like that. I look out there and see just us. I'm also capable of looking out upon an audience, even with prepared remarks, and realize that ain't none of us here. And I have to be prepared to speak with integrity as well. I'm also capable of looking out upon a diverse crowd, culturally, socially, politically, and recognize the context within which I'm speaking and how we all got in the same room together, including, but not limited to, all of the laws and all the struggles that made it possible for us to have a diverse meeting in America. I get it. I want to explore with you for just a moment before we go through some of the other business that we're going to discuss. When you look out upon an audience of just us, what do you say in this time? And when you look out in an audience when there ain't none of us, what do you say? And recognizing the diversity of your church, one of the most diverse denominations in the United States, maybe if not the world, what do you say in that context? 3 different questions. Reverend Owens.
Yeah. As you were speaking, I was like, oh, this is so my life. This is so my life, showing up. And quite honestly, very seldom is it just us in terms of Black people, just because the church is only about 10% Black. It's about 80% white, and Hispanic 6-7%. Asian Pacific Islanders about 2 to 3%. So every now and then I do.
And it's just us.
Yeah, it's Salem, or my husband served at a couple other churches now. So I do appreciate those opportunities. Our national African American caucus, if you will, the National Convocation will be meeting in June. I'll be giving the state of the church. We've invited Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes to talk about the state of our people, the state of the nation.
They're going to be full. They're going to be full then.
Yeah. but
denomination of Baptist.
Right. But to this point, the message that, in fact, I just today recorded a message. You have State of the Nation. I do a State of the Church. Just recorded that today, and it'll be up on social media and the web later this week. But that message going to the whole church, United States and Canada, is generally framed differently than if I'm just in a room with Black folks, because there's a history that sometimes you can assume, but you can't always assume. There's vernacular, there's idiom, but there's a history that you bring in and a connection that you bring into the room. And I'm always very careful of reminding the whole church. If I'm just talking to a white audience, I remind them that, you bring your receipts, you bring your facts. You have to remind people of the history of the United States, of the history of Black people. I always say, you elected a Black woman, and you cannot expect me to be anything other than who I am as a Black woman. That means I have a context, I have a history, I have a culture, I have life experiences that are different from yours, but ones that are just as valid in the United States and Canada, and even in the global context. And we talk a lot about being able to interpret context just as you would in a scholarly way, learn the original language of a text, the idioms that may be present in that text, the difference in cultures, or understanding a culture and worship style and that sort of stuff. You have to allow for those differences you have to allow to just be yourself. But there's always a word of hope, but there is, in some cases, people who have experienced things that other people in an audience may not have, and calling upon them to lean into the compassion that Jesus calls us to have. I don't care if your child went to New Trier, you got to understand that a kid on the South Side who doesn't have books for the class or the science equipment that your child has, you may not have that experience, but the values of the nation, the values of Christianity call for you to care and ensure that that child has what your child has. So when we're looking at all these forms of, your family may have been, you may be the Mayflower generation, right? Your people came over with the original ships. They're still immigrants. The experience is still an immigrant experience, except for Black people who are descendant of enslaved persons. Ours is not an immigrant experience. It's a little more violent, and it's a different kind of experience. But I think reminding people that we have different experiences, reminding people, if it's just us in the room, calling the names of the ancestors, reminding people in this day that our folks, it actually has been worse. It's hard to imagine, but people didn't give up. They didn't let the situations around them drain all of their hope. They were wise. They were disciplined. They used education and the power of their religion to ground them in ways that too often we aren't grounded today. And when we're talking with people, I presented to the World Council of Churches last June talk about justice in the context of your national context. And I just started chuckling. I was like, I'm a Black woman from the United States of America. You don't have time for me to talk about the issues of injustice in my national context, but even speaking to the world about the issues that we have. Truth, history, we know so little history. We're so afraid of offending other people that we're not willing to tell truth. Walter Brueggemann says truth-telling is the emancipatory vocation of the church. And I think in all of those spaces, we have to learn to tell the truth. The language and the idioms that we use might be different, but I've learned that in order to be faithful to what I do, that I can't be afraid of sharing the very same things with all of those audiences. I just have to use different language and a different perspective to do it. But I'm not doing justice to the truth if I shroud it or soften it just because the audience has changed.
Madam President, I have to imagine that this being the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and your integrity, which I can vouch for and have always been particularly proud of and inspired by. I would imagine that you've got to be very close to Frederick Douglass on July 4th when you're in these various audiences.
And sometimes I'm always joking. You can impeach me if you like, but I have to tell the truth. We just issued a statement on the along with our reconciliation ministry, which is a multiracial group that's focused on anti-racism, understanding, not just education, but ensuring that our processes, that our representation around the church, et cetera, on the Louisiana. And it was a little longer than somebody's like, oh, it's a little long. It's like, oh, no. We have to tell the history, help you understand the history of why that 1965 the Voting Rights Act was empowered. Lyndon Johnson was a disciple of Christ. He was a member of our denomination. And then Ronald Reagan, not somebody that I voted for, but Ronald Reagan also was a product of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. He went to Eureka College in Eureka, Illinois, a disciples school. He grew up in a disciples. He later left the denomination, but he was shaped by the tradition. He signed into law an order that extended it, right, for 25 years. So our point was, in some ways, we've all participated in the promotion of this justice, but as Frederick Douglass said, what to the American church is your 4th of July, most of our churches are really feeling a bit hesitant to celebrate when we can't really celebrate what the nation has been or what the nation means. One of our founders, Alexander Campbell, white Scottish Presbyterian theologian and philosopher, actually wrote something in 1830. It may have been the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And he basically says, that's good. Y'all do what y'all going to do over there. But what you just let us be who we say we are and what we want to be. And it's something that we're actually thinking about reflecting on at large with the church, because it was not I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy kind of writing. He was holding the nation not only accountable, but also saying that the nation has nothing to say about how we live out the calling that we have. And that's at the heart of the nation. That religious liberty is at the heart, but really telling people, don't be all that excited about what, you're not called to serve the nation. You're called to serve Jesus. And that was his attitude back in the early 19th century. But, Frederick Douglass, what to the American Negro, what to the American slave actually is your 4th of July. You have not lived into the promises that you made for this people. You've not even lived into the promises that you said you made for yourselves, those initial founders. So I think I'm seeing in my very diverse church a lot of reluctance to really celebrate 250 for fear that the original values that we've always said we wanted to live into will not be those values that are lifted up, that it will become more about gold statues and arches and military prowess being put on display, that we have forgotten who we are.
Madam President, towards that end, your church, under your leadership, has advanced certain important resolutions.
Mm-hmm. Well, we meet, we're now going to be meeting every year. We've met historically every 2 years. In Memphis last year, we've spoken against Christian nationalism. We've spoken against the oppression of Israel, against the people of Palestine, going so far as to name it as a form of apartheid. We have issued resolutions against domestic and intimate partner violence. We have called for a greater understanding of education for transgender persons. Going back further years, we've called for welcoming and inclusion of LGBTQ persons, basically saying that just as we do not exclude people on the basis of gender or race, we don't exclude them on the basis of sexual orientation as well. And quite often, it's not that everyone agrees unanimously with these things, but it is the case that we've tried to model what it looks like to talk and discuss, even when we don't agree, and to come to a place where the church, in its majority, has the right to, has come to, I think, proper conclusions to speak. So we've said a lot of important and powerful things, and I'm always saying, let's be the church we say we are. We've said all these things. Let's be sure we live into that stuff.
I am so proud of the disciples under your leadership, and there are too many of our churches who are sitting on the sideline while there is injustice taking place in the world. They are not passing any resolutions. They are not saying anything. They might get up and give a great sermon about something angry in the news, but to educate the congregation and to get the congregation and the denomination to sign on to the idea that we believe in human rights and that we are all children of God, you would think that wouldn't be so controversial.
Yes, yeah.
But that's exactly the controversy that is taking place within the church. This is Moving Mountain Mondays and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Terry Hoard Owens when we come forward.
It's It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill's civil trial came to an abrupt end Friday after a judge announced he and social media influencer Sophie Hall reached a settlement.
And the defendant, Tyreek Hill, has agreed to settle the negligence claim.
Hall claimed Hill, who is black, broke her leg during football drills at his Florida home in 2023. Maine is mourning civil rights leader Gerald Talbot as the state's first black legislator. His daughter says he died over the weekend at 94. Talbot was active in the civil rights movement before being elected in 1972 and later spoke openly about facing job discrimination in Portland, Oregon. And rappers Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg are expanding their spirits line with new hard iced tea and lemonade canned cocktails. The non-carbonated drinks come in 4 flavors, including peach iced tea and peak lemonade, with tall boy versions also coming soon. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of things need to happen tonight for the Lakers to keep folks from bringing out their brooms at Crypto.com. LeBron has to regain his shooting touch, and the Lakers cannot afford to score only 49 points in the second half. That was the Lakers' second half total in their Game 3 loss to Oklahoma City on Saturday. As for LeBron, he missed 12 of 19 shots Saturday, including 4 of 6 on three-pointers. He also had no offensive rebounds in Game 3. The Lakers have no chance to extend this series if the 41-year-old LeBron doesn't play better. And one more thing. Prepare yourself for the possibility that this could be LeBron's last game in a Lakers uniform. LeBron is a free agent after the season. He's making $52 million at the moment. Can the Lakers afford to give him a raise with a new contract? Also, Luka Doncic is supposed to be the new face of the Lakers franchise. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Turn the dial to where the truth lives. This is KBLA Talk 1580. In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
My name is Tyrone Owens, and this is my home for 23 years that burned in the fire. Me and my wife, Charlene, we had this whole yard decorated every year.
This was the house that sparkled throughout the entire neighborhood on all the holidays. It's a community that will never be the same due to the negligence of a utility company. So I am pretty upset about that.
We were nowhere near being able to rebuild with our insurance. It's going to cost $1 million to put your house back up.
I want to get back to that point where we were before the fire. I'm starting to get emotional, but I'll work through it. LA Fire Justice has been wonderful for us. They're just caring people. We have all faith in them.
Big ups to LA Fire Justice, who's given us hope to rebuild 100%.
Advertisement. Douglas Foster, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like nuclear reactor safety expert.
I disabled the backup cooling system. It was making such an annoying noise. You heard it, right? It was like,
We're on the countdown to core failure.
And you're saying we don't want that?
This is a job for sponsored jobs.
This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Carpal tunnel syndrome.
heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Reverend Terry Hoard Owens is a native of Terre Haute, Indiana, and a descendant of one of Indiana's oldest African-American free settlements. She earned her bachelor's degree in government with a minor in Afro-American studies from Harvard University. Reverend Terry Hoard Owens is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, and she's our regular contributor on the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Madam President, I just want to pick up on what we were talking about just before the break. And one of the things that I find fascinating about the disciples is that it's not just the sermon. That with the resolutions, you actively command members to go out into community and do this work. That this work is Christian work. It's not political work, but of course it has political implications. What doesn't in the world? Everything has political implications, but you're building the very community that the Gospels profess, that you fundamentally believe. And in the final analysis, the goal is a kind, Madam President, of World House.
Yeah, that's the message. And certainly we're not perfect in sharing that message. And we don't always agree on what that message should be. But when those resolutions pass, they've done so because a majority of our folks who vote have spoken. And the resolutions are not resolutions that come from my desk. These are resolutions that come from congregations, groups of congregations. They can come from our general board. They can come from other ministries in the church, but I'm always in conversation about folks about the resolutions, and often I'm participating in helping to develop them. But that's the beauty of it, that it's coming literally from the people. That said, you can't, you could have a congregation, because of our congregational polity, they could say, I don't care what the general church says, I disagree. And they can do that. We're not forcing action. We're not what's called an ecclesial set of government where the bishop and the Pope and all of those folks are telling you what to think or what to believe. We don't have that kind of structure. But the fact that it's coming from the ground, and working its way up is the beauty. They're just, it's a beautiful thing, because people are able to speak to the church and say, this is what we care about. And you have conversation and you get people who agree with you. And it often is some powerful moments. At our last assembly in Memphis last June, we had a group of young people from college students who basically came to the mic during the discussion on the idea of Israel's action against Palestine being apartheid. They basically came to the floor and said, you want to know what young people care about? this is the kind of stuff that we care about, and this is what we want to see our church speaking and acting about. They were very proud that their church had taken a stand. I get lots of really nasty comments on our social media about some of this stuff as well. And we just posted a statement again about the Louisiana versus Calais decision from the Supreme Court. That's just, I wrote a draft of it and I had to rest because I was just angry, and I knew that I couldn't publish what I had written in anger and had to come back to it. But waiting to see if people, how upset they will be about the turning back. Are you as concerned about my speaking against the turning back? Are you concerned about that turning back of justice that's been on the books for 60 years? It's always interesting to me what people are concerned about or what they choose to disagree with.
Madam President, I in this moment, and I hadn't given it much thought until this conversation, in the broader Protestant Christian thinking, we participate in the midterms, we participate in general elections, but what I hear from you is there's kind of a celebration of democracy itself in the operation of your church as a divine gift.
Oh, absolutely. And we, people will frame it as unity. And I always say that, we can't have cheap unity. So unity doesn't mean that we just choose to avoid the things that we disagree about. What it really means is that you either believe this or you don't, that we all have a voice, that we're all created by God, that we all have human dignity. And so therefore the flourishing of each one of us is necessary for the flourishing of all of us. And so hopefully I have a lot of goodwill and relational authority, but my power is not one of a gavel. I've got to work and build support for my ideas just like anybody else. We're the only denomination, I think, in the United States that allows every single congregation to have voting representation at our General Assembly. I don't know of any other denomination that allows every single congregation to have votes. And in our system, they get 3 votes. It's not, it's not like every region or every conference gets votes. Every single congregation. So there's a real sense that each congregation has a right to have a voice in the path that the whole church takes. I'm elected by that General Assembly. Every single congregation would have a vote to determine who is the person that sits in my role. So it is very democratic, and it's a very thin. It's a very non-hierarchical kind of system. The power really is in the pews.
Madam President, in this moment, I'm developing an appreciation of your great work, staying at the table. We have a couple of minutes before we come forward. Wrap this ethic, this ethos, if you will, into the idea of staying at the table.
Staying at the table. The only way you can do it is if you have a common belief and a common understanding in the value of the human beings who sit at the table with you. If you don't value them as you value yourself, you can't stay at the table. And if you don't have a strong sense of your own self, you can't stay at the table. Staying at the table doesn't mean that you yield to your own destruction. You don't stay at the table with people who are trying to destroy you. But staying at the table means I value you. And once I've demonstrated that, I believe that you'll reciprocate that. You'll value me and you'll stay at the table as well. That's the only way we can work with people that we disagree with, is if we value one another, even if we disagree. And part of our problem is we don't value one another.
And of course, this is the foundation for your book and your work. Where can we get your book?
You can get it on any of the major book retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get it at ourpresschalice.com or any of your independent booksellers that you'd like to choose.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm particularly proud of the work because at this point in time, there's some people at the table that, Madam President, I would ask them to get up and leave.
And I will tell you, if some choose to leave, as Paul says, if the unbeliever choose to depart, let them depart.
Oh, I would most definitely encourage.
I'm with you. I need prayer for that myself.
Madam President, since we last talked, the unraveling of the Voting Rights Act. I know we just have about a minute and a half before we come forward to our final segment, but the unraveling of the Voting Rights Act, given your history of struggle and work in this space, the potential absence of representation in the South, and even if it doesn't occur in this midterm election, the stage has been set for the end of majority-minority districts. And I think this struggle is also coming to the North. Madam President?
Yeah, just briefly, as a church that's committed itself to the dismantling of racism and racist structures in the United States and in our church, we cannot sit idly by when protections that were historically granted to allow the rights of those who were owned as property and people who were legally segregated and shut out from voting. We cannot sit quietly by and allow that kind of action to be taken if, in fact, we're serious about being an anti-racist church. We just can't be silent.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in conversation, The Faith Not the Fall, with Reverend Terry Hoare and Jr. Show when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Fred Martin, founder of Compton Kids Club. I just want to talk about the authenticity and tell y'all about my homeboy, Tom Steyer. Tom is a rock star. When I met him, Tom gave a grant to schools in San Francisco. All the kids were on probation. We were flying instructors for 2 years to come and help those kids doing performing arts and turning their life around. Some of the kids that he supported, they've graduated from UCLA. Let's fast forward. Tom is in schools in Compton, hanging out with the kids in the piano classes. Brother Tom Steyer hangs out in the studio with us. These are the seeds that he's planted. This has nothing to do with elections. What's coming out of his mouth is not a campaign speech. It's authentic. And when he say he walks away from a business because he want to do his values, he ain't making that up because he's running for governor. This man is real.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Are you still pouring gallons and gallons of water into a thirsty lawn that never seems to get enough water? LADWP has a special offer for a free water-saving front yard refresh available to eligible LADWP residential customers. LADWP handles all the work, including lawn removal, installing an efficient irrigation system, and planting beautiful California-friendly plants. Save water and lower your bill with a free front yard refresh. See if you qualify at LADWP.com/LEAP. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Tired of traffic? Metro D-Line runs Wilshire now with 3 new stops from downtown LA to Beverly Hills. No parking, no stress. Metro D-Line, the faster way across LA.
On top of home and auto, Progressive protects your boat, RV, and motorcycle so you can explore the unknown.
Actually, we just take the RV to the same campground every year.
Well, maybe you can catch your own dinner on your boat.
Oh, we can actually get pizza delivered there from this brick oven place we love.
Will you at least try a new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in conversation with Reverend Terry Hoard Owens. The Faith Not to Fall is her regular Monday show on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. A little bit of breaking news. We were talking about the Voting Rights Act just before we had to take our break. Virginia Democrats just moments ago have asked the United States Supreme Court to allow the state to use new voter-approved congressional map in the midterm elections. You may be aware of the fact that Texas has not sought to ask voters their opinion about the implementation of a new map. That was a deal between the legislature and the governor of the state of Texas. Other states have followed suit, and there has been no interruption or intervention by a federal court in that process. In the case of Virginia, the people themselves voted to allow the state to accept a new map, and a federal court intervened in that process the day after the vote was determined to have been successful, stopped it, which is an unprecedented use of judicial authority. And so Virginia Democrats have now asked the U.S. Supreme Court to allow the state to use new voter-approved congressional map in the midterm elections. Madam President, your initial thoughts about this, but this redistricting war, Madam President, isn't going anywhere.
Oh, this is just, it removes the very idea that, that partisan redistricting is okay. We're supposed to do this every 10 years with the census to allow for changes in population, geography, et cetera. But when we're intentionally drawing maps that are giving precedence or priority to one party versus the other, we've colored all outside the lines, so to speak. And the fact that people would dare to say that this has nothing to do with race is just the idea that people think, oh, well, we're past that now. We don't need federal oversight over this action. The very fact that right after Shelby versus Holder back in 2012, 2013, during the Obama administration, when they gutted Section 4, which gave the federal oversight, and immediately thereafter, you saw different changes in the voting law. And as soon as people think they can get away with it, they're now moving to redistrict, to redraw these maps. I'm glad that Virginia is going back because the people did vote. There's some analysis that says, there was a procedural issue in terms of what happened. But the issue is that people voted. People did vote. And it will be interesting to see what the Supreme Court has to say. It used to be that was the highest protector of the Constitution. And that's where Black people went for generations to ensure that our rights were being protected. And sadly, it's no longer the case. Robert Reich, who's the former labor secretary, on his podcast, he's got, the Supreme Court basically is reinstating Jim Crow. And this is a white man saying this. So I don't know where the end goes if there isn't some final word that until the United States deals with the issue of race, we're not going to get past this. To say that to give protection, not preference, but protection to people who are descendants of enslaved persons or persons who are non-white in this country is not discrimination against white people. It is simply allowing access to people who have for generations been denied equal access to the vote. And the fact that we have to even explain that or make that argument is really what disturbing to me.
Mm-hmm. Madam President, what does this, from your perspective, mean for a new generation of leaders? In the previous hour, we talked about the graduating classes, 2026 baccalaureate degrees. They were born in 2004. Tomorrow's high school graduates were born in 2008. And of course, 8th grade graduates were born in 2012. They're 14 years old now, and they're celebrating their commencements, their so-called new beginnings. Madam President, with a word of hope, if you were delivering a commencement address to the next generation that's graduating this month, what would you say, President?
You know, Howard Thurman, and just legendary theologian and mystic, had a sermon that he, I think in 1946, called the Growing Edge. And he talks about that hope is the beginning of hope is on this edge of despair, and that there are always cycles of new life. Things die, things are reborn. We are certainly, we have to be in a place where we can teach our children history. We're going to need Ernest Krim and all the brilliance that we can muster to educate our kids so that we can move forward and educate them and build this sense that he gives a duck allegory, and he says, you know, the mama duck is taking the baby ducks to swim and eat, and the places where she's taking them are dry. And the babies, because of their youth and their instincts, are like, Mama, we can't eat where you used to eat. Mama, we can't swim where you used to swim. And they instinctively lead the older mama duck towards a new place of water, towards a place where there are ducks and there are insects and things that the ducks can eat. And I think we've got to continue to do the work to educate and prepare our young people, because they will no longer be able to eat where mama ate. They won't be able to swim where mama swam. And we've got to pay attention to them. But we're going to have to teach them to fight in a way that our generation was taught. Look what we fought for you. Now you go take advantage of it. And we're going to have to teach them how to fight, because they're going to grow up fighting battles that our grandparents fought that we thought were already won. I think that's the hopeful thing, that there is always this growing edge. Thurman says it's the last breath out of an exhausted lung. It is growth that we can't yet see, that's beneath the soil, that soon will rise up. Even the book of Job says that there's hope of a tree if it be cut down. At the scent of water, it will bud. And so we've got to teach our kids, like my dad said, I got to teach you what it means to be Black in America. But I'm not going to take away your hope. I'm going to teach you to deal with the reality and give you your history, and you're going to wrap it in the faith that your grandfather preached from a pulpit. But we're going to have to teach them how to fight. And I think that's a hopeful thing, lest they become complacent, unless they think that the battle is already won. We must always be vigilant because we see what happens. Sadly, we've got to be vigilant and teach them to fight. Teach them to fight.
What a wake-up call. Madam President, thank you for being on our show this week.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
You're always welcome. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the Faith Not to Fall. How rich this conversation has been. First, we began in the first hour with Ernest Krim and Diallo Brooks, looking very closely at what a relevant commencement address and the thinking that would go into students who are coming into a new beginning. We conclude with a word of hope by Reverend Terry Hoard Owens, the General Minister and President of the Disciples of Christ Church, on the perseverance and the resilience of a people that, in spite of, we must move forward. We have to move forward. We're not going backwards. We're going forward. And you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. If you're on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, the 110, you are listening to KBLA Talk 1580. We are moving forward as a station, and we are moving forward as a people. Until tomorrow, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tenacious Tuesdays. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.